And welcome back to Real Side with Joe Messina and Dave Sussman, finishing up the third and final hour. It's been a pleasure, and as always, it just goes so quickly when I'm in this chair. Like life is just going so quickly right now. Before we know it, we're going to be in 2020. We're already halfway through May here, and the election cycle is just insane. It never, ever ends because the second one party wins, they're focused on getting the next election. The thing is that there's something different that's going on right now, something that is more sinister in my mind. And I just want to say this. I'm not one of those guys that every time a Sean Hannity says, this is the most important election of our lifetime. How's that for impression of Sean Hannity? Was that okay? You know, he's been saying that as long as he's been on the air, and every 4 years, and you think to yourself, yeah, it is. I remember when Bush and Kerry, and you were scared to death that Kerry was going to come in. And I get it. It always feels like the most important election in your lifetime. But what we're dealing with right now isn't just versus left and right. It isn't just about who takes the Senate or the House or the White House, and it goes in one direction a little ways and then goes back in another direction a little bit of ways. We've got something different happening right now in this country, which is really scaring me. And this whole idea of totalitarianism by the left, where if everything we say is not adopted by you, the voter, in believing in what we say, in believing what we want, then you are persona non grata. You are a racist. You are a xenophobe. You are a bigot. And the conversation is over. But what is happening is this just perpetual state of hypocrisy by these people that want you to live your life in a certain way and want you to use language in a certain way. I talked about this on my show earlier this week. Did you know that Microsoft Word, Word for Windows, I think everybody uses Word for Windows. Microsoft Word, the next version that is coming out, actually has a politically incorrect filter and will alert you when you're typing that what you just said right now is politically incorrect. Like a spell check, but for political correctness. This is beyond scary. And it's something as simple. It's just chipping away at your rights to have free thought, to have the ability to have self-determination for your life. Kamala Harris, she owns a gun, but she doesn't want you to. Bernie Sanders, he makes millions of dollars, has multiple houses, but he doesn't want you to. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she flies on airplanes, but she doesn't want you to. Obama, hell, he'll pick his own doctors, but he doesn't want you to. This continual, perpetual state of hypocrisy coming from the left. And if you stand up in any way and say that you are worried about the future direction of this country, if these people have the reins of power, that my freedom to talk, to speak, to have independent thought is in danger, then you know what they do? They take away my ability to stand on my soapbox and do just that. As we go back to hour number 3 with hour number 1 with Mindy Robinson. They're suppressing views on her page where she has 6 million viewers. She's down 83%. They're stopping people from learning other points of view. And this is really concerning to me. Last week, a good friend of mine, Karen Sigmund, I know she's been on the show with Joe. She's president at the American Freedom Alliance. And if you heard that show, you must have been absolutely disgusted. She did an event on Sunday, May the 5th. Go to YouTube, Whiskey Politics, or AmericanFreedomAlliance.org, and you can see the videos of the speakers. We had Bill Whittle, we had Charlie Kirk, we had Brent Bozell, we had Michael Walsh, we had David Horowitz, all great interviews. And do you know what happened to Karen Sigmund? And if you heard this with Joe, you obviously know. But if you didn't, she's been a teacher at Lycée Français de Los Angeles. I think it's Lycée Français. Okay, the French school in Los Angeles on Overland Boulevard. And by the way, they have a Facebook page, Lycée Français Los Angeles. And you can recommend them or not recommend them. Let's get some ratio on there, folks. Karen Sigmund, Dr. Sigmund, who has been a professor at Dartmouth and other schools, has been a math teacher who her students absolutely love for years. And one of the parents saw that she was the president of the AFA, and the event was the leftist march, the march through the institutions, where we were concerned about the future of free speech. And do you know what happened to Dr. Sigmund on Monday, the day after Sunday, where the AFA met? She was let go. Her contract for next year was not renewed. Now, it's a private institution. They could do what the hell they want. It's freedom of, private organization, employed at will, and so on. But they actually said to her in writing that it is because of her views outside of school that they're not renewing her contract. What? The 99% of the teachers being liberal isn't enough for Lycée Français Los Angeles? How dare you? These students were absolutely mortified and in tears. She was their favorite student. She's got letters she's sending to me from children that are crying. This crackdown on our ability to communicate with each other, to say that the marketplace of ideas should no longer exist, and that the only thought is our thought, is dogma. It's totalitarianism. It's downright Marxism. We're seeing this in our media. We're seeing this in our television and our movies. We're seeing it in social media, which is now underpinning the entire internet, and your news likely is now coming from Facebook. Something like 70-something% of people now get their news from social media, Facebook and Twitter. And this small conclave of tech titans that are hiring programmers that are like-minded thinkers at Google and Apple and Facebook and Twitter are going to determine the algorithms that are going to let you to get your knowledge of the news? How scary is that? The idea that we should be able to sit down and have a conversation and debate the issues of our time is no longer acceptable to these people. What the heck happened? One of the greatest college classes I took, I'm not going to say which year it was, but it started with 19-something. One of the greatest classes that I took was debate. Who supports the reunification of Germany? I put my hand up. Okay, David, you're going to argue against the reunification for Germany. I guess I'm timing myself in college now, right? Down. Everybody's doing the math right now. But I had to stand up and say, I'm against this, even though I'm for it. And it gave me a different perspective on things. I still wanted reunification of Germany, but it gave me some insight into the other side's argument. Do we do that now? Are we allowed to do that now? Or is Joy Behar and Whoopi Goldberg and the late night comedians, Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel and Bill Maher, the voices that we now must follow and listen to, and like lemmings off of a cliff, just nod up and down and listen to and follow like a Pied Piper? This is no longer the country of freedom of thought and freedom of speech. The First Amendment allows freedom of speech, and it is now being cracked down. And this is years after this is already starting to be cracked down in Europe. I grew up in London. Speaker's Corner was a thing at Hyde Park, and the crazies were allowed to stand up without any worry that they were going to be thrown in jail. They could say what they want towards this government. You can't do that now. Tommy Robinson gets thrown in jail because he said something that some people took offense to. Speech. And that's now starting to happen here. So when I talk about the most important election of our time, I think this next one really, truly is. And if you're not involved, if you're not speaking to friends, if you're not having conversations like this with other people, you've got to wake them up because so many people are not woke yet. Thank you all for joining me tonight. 3 hours flies by. Dave Sussman, follow me. YouTube, subscribe at Whiskey Politics. Find me on Facebook, Whiskey Politics blog, at David Sussman on Twitter. And I'll be back again real soon. Thank you, Tammy and Cody, and God bless you all. Take care.